All right. Thank you so much, Dylan, for joining us today. Of course, first, we would like to introduce you to everyone who's watching us today. Um, to everyone who's watching us, we are live today with Dylan McCabe. He is the co founder of Limitless Roofing CEO Group. And I think Lee has a few questions for Dylan, aside from what I just introduced him as, because I believe that aside from that, you're also holding executive positions at several companies, and I believe you own two of these companies as well.
Yeah, I don't, I'm not really wired to work for somebody else. It's a lot easier for me to think about how I can start my own thing and hopefully make it successful.
Awesome. So, with me tonight, for the first time, I have Lee. As Dylan said, my better half is here with me. So, Lee is our head of our video editing team as well as our YouTube SEO expert. So, Lee has a few questions for you, Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan. Well, first of all, again, thank you so much for taking your time off your busy schedule to do this interview. So, for our viewers out there, a lot of them probably are questioning what is Limitless Roofing CEO Group. So, can you tell us more about your company and the industry that you're in?
Sure. So my business partner owns a roofing company, and there's about 100,000 roofing companies in the US. And so I started working with him and thought, we need to start a podcast and interview owners of roofing companies and then ask them about the biggest challenges they have in business and see what kind of business we could spin up out of that. Well, after coming into the roofing industry from the outside, I realized there really wasn't anything that brought leaders and owners of roofing companies together. And I happen to have a business mentor here in Dallas, Texas, and that's all he does. He brings owners of companies together, and they do basically a lunch for about 2 hours. And you could come and say, like, if it was you, you could come and say, hey, we own OceanClick. Here's our biggest challenge this year. And then every other owner at that table, it's a big conference room table with like 30 people, everyone else would give feedback, and they call it shining. They would shine their wisdom, their knowledge, their experience on your situation. And so I quickly realized there was nothing like that in roofing, but there is CEO groups and stuff like that in different industries. I think the biggest one is called Vistage Worldwide. They've got about 25,000 members, and all they do is bring CEOs of companies together in what they call CEO peer groups. So since there wasn't anything like that in roofing, we decided to launch roofing CEO peer groups. But the thing that's different about what we do is every other CEO group that I know of brings CEOs from different companies together, like a software CEO, a healthcare CEO, a flooring CEO, so that there's no direct competition. But my thinking with that is, what does the CEO of a software company know about your issues trying to grow a roofing business? Nothing. So our idea was, let's bring owners of roofing companies together, owners and CEOs of roofing companies, but make sure they're in all different markets across the US. And we tried it out. We got a small group together, and then we had to find out if people would actually pay for it, and people are willing to pay for it. And we're still kind of in startup mode, but it's going well.
Oh, okay. So yeah, but it's very interesting that you have all these groups of CEOs together in the same industry, and then but they're sharing information and they're not competing against each other. So can you tell us how that works? How is it that they're able to share this information without competing against each other?
So we try to make sure that each member is in a different market. unless it's a huge market like Dallas, Texas. I mean, we could probably have 10 members in one group, all
Hmm.
from Dallas, Texas, and they would never see each other just because it's such a big market. But we try to make sure everybody's in a different market, and we cap our group at 12 members each. So
Okay.
once the group has 12 people, we start a new group. So that keeps it small and intimate, almost like a small group at church.
Okay.
And we want that to happen. We don't just want it to be about sharing information. We want people to develop friendship and real connection and talk to each other outside of the group. But we meet twice a month. And so once a month is just business training. And I'm an EOS implementer. EOS Worldwide is basically just a business growth system that's used by about 80,000 businesses around the world. So once a month we meet for 90 minutes, and it's EOS Worldwide training. And then once a month, we also meet for 90 minutes, and it's just a roundtable discussion. And like I mentioned before, with my business mentor and what they do at Shine, the roundtable meeting is just a chance for you as the owner to, you know, share one of your biggest challenges. Maybe it's turnover in your staff. Maybe it's, you're having a hard time developing the company culture you want. Maybe you can't seem to generate enough revenue to scale. You need to hire new people, but how can you hire new people when you don't have the money to pay them?
Mhm.
And how can you grow to the next step if you don't hire new people? So just feeling like you're in that catch 22, issues like that, and the owner will share, and then everybody else in the group will weigh in on that. So twice a month, and it's all done on Zoom. It's just a Zoom call.
Okay. All right. Um, Now, of course, the goal with each company is to grow. And so, since you started with Limitless CEO, with the Limitless CEO group, tell us a bit on how you were able to make this company grow and what it is today.
Well, for us, you mean like for us to grow Limitless, or for our
Yeah,
clients to grow?
yeah, well, Limitless basically. Yeah.
Yeah, for us to, as far as us growing, our strategy is develop basically a Facebook group, invite owners and CEOs to the Facebook group, and then slowly reach out to them and offer them free trainings, free consulting, maybe one free hour consulting session, and then talk to them about the CEO group to see if they're a fit. We've kind of had to slow down recently just because in Texas we experienced the freeze. What they call the Texas freeze. We've never seen anything like this in Texas before, but all over Dallas, it snowed and it shut the whole city down for about a week. And there
Oh,
were
wow.
people without power for over a week in the winter. And there were frozen pipes everywhere, and the pipes busted in millions of homes. And so there was a huge need. Well, we quickly said, hey, let's press time out on Limitless. Let's hire a consultant and learn how to answer the call of all these busted pipes and how to get people's houses dried out, because water busted and went everywhere. So people's flooring was ruined, their walls were ruined. Um, it's almost like the result of a massive hurricane that brings flooding everywhere. Very similar, except
Wow.
there's a lot of plumbing involved because the pipes were busted. So we hired one of the best consultants we could find in the U.S. and quickly learned how to do what they call water mitigation. And we've really been doing water mitigation for the last few months. So, but now that we're back to getting back on focus with Limitless, really the goal is it's just the Facebook strategy. I've seen several other entrepreneurs do it effectively, where they basically build a Facebook group and then sell to the people in the group.
Hmm.
And so we're going to be doing that. And eventually we're actually going to spend a little bit of money on advertising to get more and more people into the group, because it's going kind of slow right now. But, and I know you didn't ask me this, but OceanClick is a huge part of our growth, because I really like, coming up with good ideas. But man, when it comes to executing and following through all the way, I'm just, man, it wears me out. Everything from project management to even getting a podcast live, to graphic design, creating thumbnails for YouTube videos. OceanClick does all of that for us, and it's awesome because I get to just focus on what I'm good at, and then hand the rest off to you guys, and you get it out there in the public for me, and it's working great.
Awesome, because I was about to ask you that, but you answered it anyway, even before I asked it. So thank you for that. Um, but I do want to ask though, how did you choose OceanClick? What was the process?
It was a long process. I went through
Mhm.
a lot of different, I interviewed a lot of different people. I wanted to work with a team in the Philippines because I just heard so many good things. And so everything I heard is true. Just how friendly everybody has been, how responsive everyone has been, and stuff like that. So, but I interviewed a lot of different people, and I just couldn't find the right fit because I kept telling my business partner, I don't want to go through this again. I want to pick the right person or the right team first, and stick with that team. And so after sifting through a lot of people, OceanClick really had the best resume, and OceanClick was also the most responsive. And
Mhm.
so I found two different kinds. I found people that were really responsive, but their resume wasn't great. And I found
Mhm.
people with really impressive resumes, but they weren't that responsive. And it's like, well, if I'm trying to hire you for a job and you're not responding until 48 hours later, this is probably not going to work out very well. So OceanClick was very responsive, jumped on a call, got to talk to Lee, got to talk to Chester, was really impressed with what I heard, and just with how the guys came across, not only their knowledge and the resources that were available, the jobs that you guys could tackle, but also just a real friendly, relaxed environment. Yeah, so it just seemed like a really good fit, and it's been great.
So you even answered one of my questions, which was what aspect or characteristics of a VA, especially that it's virtual, everything is virtual. And you mentioned being very responsive as well as having the skills to, of course, do the task that's needed to be done. So, Lee, do you have any questions that you have there?
Yeah, circling back to your company, Limitless. Um, what is your long-term vision for your company? Where is it going to be?
That's a good question. So if we stick with the roofing CEO groups, and that's all we do, I'd like to get to the point to where we have about 300 members in a CEO group. And I'd like most of those to be on monthly recurring membership fee. Right now, we charge a large amount up front, and people have been willing to pay it. But my whole thing is, that cash up front is critical to the business, so it's been really helpful. But what I'd like to do in the next 6 months to a year is transition to more of a monthly payment plan, and have hundreds of members in. However, we are spinning up another business right now that will also apply to owners of roofing companies. And if that takes off, we're not sharing anything about it publicly, just because I know there will be some copycats that will hit the scene really, really fast. And that's fine. A little competition's fine, but I definitely don't want to allow them to be the first. So we're going to see how that business goes. It will apply to every roofing owner. It's going to be a much lower barrier to entry as far as cost goes. And so if we spin that up and that's successful, I think what will happen is the CEO groups will be a smaller side thing that we do with a higher price, more of a premium membership product. But we'll see. It's kind of up in the air right now.
All right. Well,
I'm
thank you
looking
for
forward to
that.
see that.
Yes, absolutely. And we do have a question. I hope you have time to answer this one. We have a question from one of our audience. Okay, it's from Cindy, and she's asking, since the US real estate is having a boom, was your company able to capitalize on that? And does your podcast help in taking advantage of the boom?
You're right. Real estate in the U.S., especially in Texas, is really on fire right now. But like in our neighborhood, our home value has gone up $100,000 in about 4 years. But the problem is every other house has as well. So if you sell your home thinking, "Oh, I'm going to make a lot of money on my home," well, now that house that you were going to go buy is a lot more expensive than it was a few years ago. So it's kind of like, you're building equity, and that's great. But we don't directly look to benefit from real estate. In a former role, I actually raised money for multifamily investments. I saw that you guys had a guest on that was in multifamily real estate, and did 1031 exchanges and all that stuff. And that's great. There's a lot of money to be made in that space. The way we make money off real estate is kind of indirectly. I mean, every property out there has a roof. So we want to
Yes.
capitalize on that. And my business partner owns a roofing company. And I mean, we're doing a job right now for an apartment complex with 3 different properties. And that's how we want to make money. But we don't, we do invest in real estate on the side, but it's not a business model for us.
Okay. I see. Well, thank you for that answer. All right. And so, Lee, if you don't have any other questions,
Well, no, that's it for me. Maybe just a fun question.
okay, a
Um,
fun
how, ma-
question.
how many roofs are there in the United States?
Oh my gosh. I don't know how many roofs there are, but I can tell you there's over 100,000 roofing companies. So if that
Wow.
tells you anything about the demand, I can also tell you that in Dallas, we do a lot of jobs because of hail damage. And
Oh,
there's so
Wow.
many hailstorms that when somebody says how long this roof will last, like we're about to do a roof next week on a pretty big home. And the homeowner kept saying, now, how long is this roof going to last? And we said, until the next hailstorm. And that could be next year.
Wow.
because this is something that doesn't really happen here in the Philippines. Like when you say it happens often, like in a year, an average of uh, how many times does it happen?
So yeah, hail season, I think hail season starts around March, and goes on through May, June, and starts to kind of stop around June, July. But
Mhm.
every year in Dallas anyway, really Texas and Colorado are the 2 most saturated states for hail. It'll
Mhm.
hail, I mean, almost every couple of weeks. And if the hail's bad enough, it'll damage millions of homes. There was a big hailstorm in Keller, Texas, which is about 45 minutes from where I live, and it was golf ball size hail. So you can imagine what thousands of golf balls would do to your home, falling, thousands of feet from the sky. And yeah, so anyway, it's a big business here in Texas.
I see. Now I understand one of the reasons why it's a big business there, because it's something that we don't really think about here in the Philippines. Because for me, I've never experienced that. I've never experienced hail.
Well, good thing we don't have hail here in the Philippines.
But
Yes.
you guys have to deal with hurricanes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Our roofs are made of what do you call this? Not coconut. It's a different kind of grass. It's a grass roof. That's the native kind of house in the Philippines. But I don't believe that will withstand any hail.
Yeah, well, we don't have to deal with hail, but yeah, we do get the big hurricanes out here. And yeah, just like with hail, when the big ones come, then there is going to be a big amount of damage. So
Yep. Yeah, I grew up in Houston, Texas, and so being 30 minutes from the Gulf of Mexico, we went through a lot of hurricanes. I mean, the most expensive
Mm.
natural disaster in U.S. history was Hurricane Harvey a couple of years ago, and pretty much destroyed the entire city of Houston. So I'm well aware with that threat as well.
Yeah. And of course, during like when you have these conversations in Limitless Roofing CEO group, you also discuss these topics and what you can do about it, or like these are things that you discuss in
You
your
know,
pod.
we do. So we start every meeting basically having friendly discussion, just friendly talk. And I like to
Mhm.
ask, hey, what's something good or something positive that's happened in your company in the last couple of weeks? And it gives people a chance to share. Maybe they hired somebody new, or they're taking more time to spend with their family or whatever. But we the thing that we've been talking about a lot lately is because of COVID, there's supply shortages everywhere. So if you like in the States, the material on top of the house is called asphalt shingles. And
Mhm.
it's because they use some of the same material that they would put on the streets, and they put it on this material. It's a really thick material, and it's called an asphalt shingle. So there's supply shortages of shingles. So if you wanted to get your house done and you wanted gray shingles, well, they may not be in stock. Or like on commercial buildings, A lot of the commercial buildings that are what they call flat roofs. It's a white material called TPO. Well, people are having a really hard time getting TPO because COVID has really disrupted supply chains all over the place. So people are definitely talking a lot about that.
I see. So for those in the roofing industry wanting to have this kinds of discussion, I would ask you guys to follow Dylan and of course Limitless Roofing CEO show. You are available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, we do a show. I try to do one about once a week, and thanks to OceanClick, we put it up on all the major outlets for podcasts and also YouTube and Facebook as well.
All right. And so before I let you go, Dylan, I would just like to ask if you have, because if you have a message for Ocean Click, our anniversary is coming up, and I'm sure the guys would love to hear what a message from you.
I would just say keep up the great work. It's I think it's easy to start off well, but as the company scales and grows, like any company, it's hard to maintain those processes and without having a really good grip on your processes and having repeatable systems. So I would just say keep up the great work. I mean, most of the time the OceanClick team is waiting on me. I'm never waiting on the OceanClick team. I may take days or even a couple of weeks if I get really distracted to get back to something. And so, yeah, just keep up the great work. You guys are doing great.
Thank
Oh,
you
thank
so
you.
much, Dylan. I'm sure they would be so happy to hear that. And so, to everyone watching us right now, I hope you guys would also follow us on IG, FB, Twitter, and TikTok. It's at OceanClick VS, and of course, we are also on LinkedIn. That's OceanClick Virtual Solutions, and follow us on YouTube as well. We have OceanClick TV. All right. Thank you once again, Dylan, for your time, for being able to join us today and share your what Limitless Roofing CEO Group is all about.
Thanks for
And
having me on, guys.
Thanks,
all
Ellen.
right. Thank you so much. All right. Have a good day, everyone.